Today's episode is brought to you by the Holiday Spirit.
Drop the beat.
It's high noon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Noon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I am your host, Blevins. With me, as always, is Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Not too much. Just realizing my mic is in a drastically different spot than it normally is.
It sounds good.
All right.
But we are joining you today in the wee hours of 2017. I don't know what date it actually is, but this is our last episode in 2017. It's also the last episode of this week, which felt like a year's worth of podcasting stuff.
We've
in
done
1 week.
So many things this week. It's been ridiculous. Might as well move right into the what did we do last week section here. It's going to be kind of a fast episode today. We do got a couple things to talk about. We're going to go over the path to pro very briefly, kind of give you guys the overview of that. Some of the big information that was announced that we kind of glossed over last episode. Just do a bit of a kind of discussion about the Nate Nanzer interview that hopefully you guys all got a chance to see. And
if you haven't, it's up on YouTube.
Oh, it's phenomenal. You have to watch that. It was so exciting and so much fun to do. And also we're going to take a quick look at the power rankings and some of the players that moved there. But yes, man, we did everything this week. It's been like 3 days, by the way, since the last time we recorded a what did we do last week section. And I'm going to forget things because it's been so crazy, but we put out almost everything I promised you guys last episode. So I'm really proud of that. The only one that got missed was the one that was just 100% solely on me. And I botched it. My apologies. So the map recap is probably coming. It will be kind of like outdated information by the time you get it. But I do want to put one out on the preseason so that way some of you guys can provide some feedback and, make things a little bit better than the first trial run by the time the regular season rolls around. And I want to keep doing them throughout the season. So big help if anybody can leave comments on that video or talk to me about it in Discord once it's up. But we put out, let's see, I did the write-up for the power rankings adjustments after the preseason. We did obviously the Nate Nanzer interview, which was just phenomenal. So much fun. We did the top 10 plays of the week video. What am I missing here? What am I? Help me out.
We talked about this already, but we did around the payload.
The around the payload just dropped.
We did around the payload. I mean, this week we already did our normal episode. This is we're pre-recording the episode because I'm going to be gone on holiday break all next week, and we want to make sure that we get something out to you guys next week or this week. Or oh god, this is even harder in like past, future, past.
We are talking to you so far in the past right now. It's ridiculous. But nonetheless, it'll be a ride here. I don't know. We got, like I said, we got a really laid back episode, so we're just going to be kind of talking. I can't even begin to describe to you how exhausted I am, just from everything going on. We had a lot of preparation to do for the Nate interview, and it was really, I don't know, for me stressful, right? Because I just knew it was, it's not the interview you want to like botch, right? Like of all of them.
Yeah, definitely not the one we're really looking to botch. It was so. I mean, we can just jump out around and do. We're doing whatever we want. We're off script here for this episode. As you can, if you're watching the YouTube feed or the live feed, you can see I'm wearing my Overwatch ugly Christmas sweater, and we're both ensconced in wreath right now. So this is the holiday episode. We do have a couple of things to actually talk about, but this is going to be more of a reflective show. Maybe talk a little bit about what we did in 2017 and touch on some stuff for 2018 that we at least would like to do. But yeah, so we did the Nate interview, which was just huge. And I know we've said it 1,000 times, but huge shout outs to Kiki and to Blizzard and to Nate as well for doing that interview. Huge shout outs to A Smith for really kind of heavily nudging us towards actually getting. I mean, this is something, you know, that Death and I have wanted since, you know, they announced that Overwatch League was the thing. It's like, oh, this, like, it was very clear and apparent, like when I was at BlizzCon that year and they were like, Overwatch League is coming. I'm like, well, I know where the podcast is going. This is pretty much my dream come true that I didn't even know that I wanted. It came true. And who better to have on a podcast about competitive Overwatch than the commissioner of the Overwatch League? So really, like, our wildest dream interview come true. And you know, just huge shout outs and thanks to everyone who helped us get that across. And I mean, not even just the people who actively did it, but the, you know, you guys, the listeners, the fans, the Discord community. Really, I mean, we're nothing without you guys. We're just two schmucks that talk into microphones every week. As I found out in the past, they don't really care about that. So it's you guys coming together and, you know, supporting us and supporting competitive Overwatch and supporting everything in the scene that's really allowing us to do what we do every week. So huge thanks to you guys too. But yeah, so we did that interview. We did Around the Payload, which we've been getting a ton of great feedback from. We are going to be recording another episode of that probably in the first week of January, I think. Next week is basically, this is all you're getting for this as we're recording this next week, which is Christmas week. That's pretty much going to be our podcast end of year vacation that we're probably never going to be getting again. And actually we probably will, but
you'll get my map recap as well. It should be by then, or
okay, good.
I hope it's, or at least early in the week, but other than that, we're not doing too much, but you can still reach us in Discord. You know, if anything happens in the Overwatch scene while we're going on, you know, what Nate said a couple times in the interview, we're 8 days away, so 7 days now from the opening. From the opening of the Overwatch League Season 1, like, business year. So, you know, there's potential to be news. You know, Nate alluded to potential announcements about where you'll be able to watch the Overwatch League, and that makes me think it's more than just, hey, we're definitely going to be on Twitch, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's something they could very easily be like, okay, yeah, here it is. Yeah,
right.
yeah, this is what you. It's like, no, they're probably waiting to do something pretty big about that.
I mean, we're a big fan of speculating wildly when given incomplete information. So I'll just give you what I kind of said to Blevins after we discussed that portion of the interview, and that's, when's Monday Night Football? Like, what's going on here? I think we're going to likely see, not Thursday night, because that's kind of got an esports presence already. But I do think, you know, or unless that becomes the esports presence for the Turner Network. What is it? That's where E-League is.
Is it on Thursdays? Okay.
I thought that was on Thursdays anyways. I don't
remember.
But I think we're going to see one of the days here kind of turn into, you know, it's going to be on cable TV in the United States. I think we're going to see that. I think that's already something they see in Europe. Like, I know, Icarium says he gets to watch Apex on TV, stuff like that. So I think there's going to be, in some capacity, Overwatch League on television in this first season. So I'm really looking forward to that kind of announcement. And even if it's not on TV, I mean, I'm not going to watch it on TV whether they put it there or not, to be perfectly honest with you.
Unless it's at a bar or a Buffalo Wild Wings.
Right. Then we'll get the ability to, like, go meet up around town or something like that, grab PJ and go watch it. But so for the most part, I'm really interested in finding out when that'll be. I think there's a decent chance we get that information before the next episode. But Discord's always popping. Even if me and Blevins aren't around to yell at, there's no shortage of people willing to talk to you guys over there. So make sure you join that if you're not in it yet. Though it's getting bigger. I think just about everybody's there.
Yeah,
we can go bigger.
Yeah, we can definitely go bigger. It's gotten to the point where we've got, like, different, like, waves of people who've come in. Like, we've got the OG people who've been here for forever. You know, the A Smiths, the Thornrains, the Icariums. Then we've got, like, another wave of people, then another wave, and then, like, we're slowly, like, starting to see, like, regulars, and it's great. And we're seeing new people every day. It's awesome. And almost no matter what, when you join the channel, you're gonna get spammed with, "Hey, what's your team?" Like,
yeah, the welcome message will just start to get logos, like team logos, just peppering it. Like it happens.
Yeah.
I don't even do that anymore. By the way, like I started it. I'm pretty sure. But then like it's just to the point now where like I don't need to. It's the Outlaws logo's going to be there, so I win.
Yeah.
Well, I get what I want.
It's always a fuel, and there's always a fuel. There's always an outlaw, and there's always a no fuel.
Yes.
And if I go in, I always add an XL. And then we've been getting some gladiators in there. We've been getting some Spitfire. Yep.
Icarium's not so lonely anymore.
I know. One thing that got mentioned today is we don't have a lot of Boston fans in there. And I know Death is fine with that.
It would be so brave to join my Discord and declare Boston fans.
I welcome you.
I will respect you for it.
As an East Coast brother, I welcome you in.
I will absolutely respect you for joining our Discord and declaring Uprising fandom. I will, however, also mock you for it.
Yeah.
But
you've got your hands tied with. There's a lot of Fuel fans in there. You've got your hands tied.
I know,
like
it's
pretty much
I'm busy.
Always against the wall.
I'm just constantly Dukes up, fighting everybody. But I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. All that stuff factored into my selection. You know, I loved the built-in rivalry. You know, we'd already had the Dallas announcement, so when they announced Houston, it didn't take long for me to realize how close they were. And I knew it was coming, and I love to hate the Dallas Fuel. I have no hatred for Envious. I loved watching them play. I don't know. I've just bought in so hard to Houston that I can't not. Like, I'm just obligated at this point to give Fuel fans a hard time.
Yeah, and if you're a traditional sports fan and haven't necessarily been a huge esports fan, you're going to really like the Discord, because it definitely does not get as heated as some other traditional sports forums. We keep it like PG-13 about. I don't think we really get too bad. Nothing really ever gets too bad.
No, nothing's been too bad.
Yeah.
And we're not policing it that way either.
Right.
So to
it's
be
just
honest,
kind of, it could take that turn, but it hasn't yet.
Yeah, the esports community is a little too respectful for it to go crazy. We will moderate it if we have to. It will get to a point. I know personally, if it was not my Discord, I would not respect the boundaries. But because it's tied to the show, you know, I'll make sure it's at least not my fault things get out of hand.
Yeah,
I say that, but it will almost definitely fall.
I got on a soapbox, but I bit my tongue a little bit. But I definitely did get on a soap. I had a really condescending comment one time. But yeah, if you join the Discord, maybe you'll get to see something like that sometime. But let's. I'm trying to think. Was there anything else? Oh, you put out your updated power rankings article as well.
Yeah, I figured we'd talk about that. I don't know. I kind of want to talk a little bit more. I mean, there were some surprising things out of the Nate interview, and we got to get the information, but we haven't had a chance to really react to it. And me and you tend to talk briefly about things, but for the most part, save it for the show. So anything in particular, I got a couple things, but anything in particular on your end that really kind of like surprised you? Because we got some kind of like exclusive first information from him and a couple things.
We really did. And I want to preface this with what our meme of the week is.
Overwatch today, meme of the week.
And this meme was one that I made, and it wasn't really a meme. It was just a really it was just a really poorly made ad I made for the interview. I literally just took a picture of Nate Nanzer, put it over McCree's face on our updated logo from Enco, and put some of the information on it. Now, Enco was
offended, I think, by this.
I don't think he was
not really
offended.
It was so bad it was offensive.
He was like, it was kind of like Enko was, you know, my dad or mom, and saw me trying to do something, and like, oh honey, here's the real people money. Go give this to the man. Don't give him the Monopoly money. Okay. And then he made a really good one. And then I put stupid stuff and made it look bad over it. But yeah, so huge shout out to him. And then and this isn't the meme of the week, or that was the meme of the week, but this part isn't the meme of the week. He actually went and made or she, I actually don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But they made a really awesome background art type of thing. We're going to use it in some capacity in 2018. So
there's going to be a couple rebranded elements of the show. It's going to be a little hard to see to any iTunes viewers, but I know the YouTube audience will definitely appreciate them. Not all of them will be, unnoticeable to the audio aspect of things, but definitely going to get a little bit of a facelift here once the episode 100 hits. So
yeah. So the Nate interview we had, it was crazy because like I'm still like kind of processing it because we normally so like in an alternate world, or if this happened a year ago or whatever, this interview would have happened, you know, somewhere, and we would be analyzing this interview. But the interview was, we did it. the information we're talking about and analyzing right now came from us. It's because I'm like right this second, finally realizing that it's kind of crazy.
It hit me when I was like reading articles about the interview.
Yeah.
And people wrote afterwards. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah, it was so much fun. But I'll start us off here with a couple particulars. There was a spot there and I clipped it, and I'm gonna tweet it out. I haven't yet. Literally, this is one of the first times I've sat down in my apartment, like with the ability to think about it since the interview. But he said that there's no firm salary cap.
Yeah.
And that was really, really telling to me, because that was definitely something we were under the impression was there. Now, he said there's no firm salary cap, right? I'm not quoting him exactly. I haven't gone through and memorized the quote or anything like that. But that says there is a salary cap in some capacity. So what I think we're going to see here is something along the lines of a luxury tax. If you want to go over, something like Major League Baseball does, where here's the limit, here's the amount of money you can just spend and not have to worry about it on your salaries. If you want to go over, you've got to pay in, X percentage of it to the league or to, to something like that. So I thought that was really, really interesting. I'm very excited to see the rule book come out so we can get a
which he did say
more in-depth look. Yes, definitely will be. One of the other things that I was definitely, piqued my interest a little bit. He, talking about the player discipline, he mentioned how there would kind of be levels to it, right? And that was something that I thought was surprising, just because, and again, it has to make sense. He emphasized fairness in the decisions, and kind of got the sense he didn't use this phrase, but the punishment's going to fit the crime. So that kind of explains why Sato jumped right to suspension, and it also maybe explains why we haven't heard anything about that for, say, Shanghai or for XQC and his incident. So you have to think maybe, XQC might be in the fine stage. I don't know. His incident was a little more recent, and I know Nate was in China, so that issue might not be fully resolved yet. But so he might have gone from written warning the last time to fine this time, and then maybe we'll look at something more next time if it comes up. So I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting. It kind of gives you an idea. I think it's similar to how hockey handles things. That has a mixed bag, right? Because hockey's obviously been around a long time. They've been through a couple commissioners by now. I think their systems worked beautifully under some and not so good under others. So it'll be really interesting to see, what kind of precedent gets set here. So now anytime, and we kind of knew this anyways, right? But anytime a disciplinary action is taken, it's going to be precedent setting for quite a while. So, we'll have to kind of get a feel for what constitutes a suspension on a first time offense and what's going to be just like a written warning, what have you.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of Nate iterated this, not even just for the punishments and whatnot, but just for the league in general. Is like, we haven't really seen season 1 of a new sport in, I don't even know when. Like, when was the last time we saw that? I have no idea. So a lot of things are going to be, like you said, precedent setting, but also he mentioned, like, it's not like I believe he specifically said it's not like Blizzard is up on the top of the mountain throwing lightning bolts down saying this is how it has to be and because we said so. It's much more of a, you know what, we're going to do what we think is right, but we're very open to community feedback, but I think more importantly, player and organization feedback, because I think at the end of the day, like, they don't, I mean, if they overfine players, I guess they have something to gain from it, like, you know, a middling amount of money, but they really don't gain anything from over punishing people. So they really want to get the punishments right. It's not that they're not going to, if they punish people too much, they don't benefit from that. So they really want to get it right, and they really want, they need all of the moving parts on their side, right? They need the fans, they need the players, and they need the organizations all to be on the same, at least kind of the same page, for that. So it definitely makes sense. And I'd be interested to see what the actual, like, formal process for XQC is right now. But right now, I don't even know if we've been led to believe that there's any league stuff has been done. Like, he got banned in game, right? But that's not necessarily anything that has to do with the league.
Yeah, honestly, if I had to guess, I would say they're still, like, looking into that just because he was in China for a while, probably while it broke and while it was happening, and I don't know that he's really had too much chance to look into that particular one yet. That's a busy guy right there, so understandable on that one. But the next thing that kind of caught my mind here was we were talking about the stages and why they decided to use them, where they got the idea from. And he gave us some really cool insight into future Overwatch League seasons.
This was the answer, I think, that gave me the most unexpected answer. That was the most unexpected answer. Like, I thought this was going to kind of be like almost like a throwaway question where I was like, okay, well, they're doing it because of map pool, or they're doing it, and then he's just gave us this crazy answer.
He could have taken the route from what they basically kind of already said about it, and that was, well, we want teams to be trying late in the year. If you're not in the playoffs, we want you to have something to play for. We want you to have, want you to have a reason to fight for your fans and to do well and to try to win your matches. And that was a good answer and a really good reason behind it, but it didn't seem like enough to me. So I definitely thought there was more to it. And he brought up the point that this is going to allow for some scheduling flexibility when they need to have teams that are going on, trips to Asia. It can't be like, okay, well, your Wednesday match is in Seoul, and then on Saturday you've got to be in Los Angeles. Like, that's not okay. That doesn't work, right? So he said they're going to do a lot of, like, you're going to do the bulk of your traveling during, say, this was an example, but you're going to have, like, your Europe and Asia stage as a team, right? So let's I'll talk about Houston since I like talking about Houston. So they're going to have stage 1 year be, okay, we're only playing our, like, not our home games, but our games in the United States. We're going to be staying in the area, not doing any, crazy traveling. But then in stage 2, we're never touching American soil. We are going to be in playing all our matches against Shanghai. We're going to, so they're going to be really spreading them out, and that's going to make a lot more sense, I think, once we have a wider variety of Asian and European teams.
Right.
And I think it's going to be really, really helpful. And I think it answered a big logistical problem that a lot of people were asking about going into that interview and not having that information. So I thought that was a really, really interesting answer.
Yeah, I mean, it just really opens up the ability to do a lot of interesting and cool things. It's like, okay, well, this is, I mean, so it opens it up to be really cool and interesting, but my, I guess, fear potentially is, so on the one hand, yes, in season 4 or 5 or whatever, let's just say season 5, We've got stage 2 of Overwatch League is the Atlantic Division's trip to Europe and the Pacific Division's, trip to Asia or whatever. Okay. Well, then I think you know what actually they'll probably do is they'll probably have one division play in the US at all times. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that, because if it was like the whole league goes to Europe, it's like, okay, for a whole stage, it's like, that's great. It gives Europe some great time slots for Overwatch League. I'm sure they would obviously shift the time slots over, but then like, what are like the people like you and I and people in the community and the hardcore fans are going to watch all the games or watch the VODs or whatever, but like, what does the like layman Houston Outlaws fan do for that whole stage? Right. Where your games are played at 2 p.m. Eastern, and you are in you're in California and you never get to see your team play live.
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem that some leagues do face currently, right? Like the NHL, I know, like sometimes the Sabres will go on a West Coast. It's not near as long, right? I mean, right, it's not a 5-week stretch.
It's not a third of your season, and like I get like
fifth.
What's that?
A fifth, not a third, but yeah.
A stage is there's 5 stages?
Yeah.
In Overwatch League?
Now you've got me second guessing everything. This is how tired we are, everybody.
Oh wait, no, it's
4 stages. We're just both wrong. Yeah, we're just both wrong.
We're
5 weeks in each stage.
5 weeks in each stage. I don't know why I thought it was 3 stages.
I was positive 3 wasn't right, but as soon as you questioned me on 5, I was like,
we were both.
I'm not confident.
It's okay. We haven't been doing
both of us.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good
shame.
Yeah. So okay, a quarter of your season, I mean, maybe we see that with like a quarter of your season being gone, but like I get in hockey or in baseball or whatever, like you play your series, right? You have your, the Yankees only play the San Francisco Giants, 4 games of the year or something like that. I don't know if that's true or not, but they only play the, that cross country other league team 4 times a year, and they play them all at once. They play a 4-game series. Okay. Maybe you're, your casual Yankees fan isn't going to get to see those 4 out of the 162 games at a time that they can watch live, but that's not a quarter of their season. That's not even a percent of the season. Or it's like 1% or 2% of the season. 25% of your season being at a time that you can't possibly watch live just seems it just seems kind of counter to what the live experience and what the Overwatch League is trying to produce outside of or it's trying to produce above and beyond what a normal esports experience would be.
Well, I think the one thing once it happens to understand is all the European fans that are still with the league at that point have been going through that since now.
Yeah, but I'm a spoiled brat and I want everything.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, and I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
It's the American way.
That's us to a T. Spoiled and want our cake and to eat it too, for sure. But
I want your cake.
Rude.
Yeah. No, but I think. So I mean, I think that's why I think that if we had if we have 24 teams, if there's 4 divisions, I think you're going to see. I mean, actually, if there's 4 divisions or even 3 divisions, I think you see 1 play in the U.S. at all times, 1 play in Europe at all times, and 1 play in Asia at all times. Like, depending on the stages, I don't know, or like, I think you're just going to see 1 division at least play in the U.S. during all of the stages.
I tend to agree with you. Yeah, not everybody's leaving, and I don't think you're going to see all the Korean teams leave Korea when they're traveling either. It's not going to be specific, I don't think. I don't know. I'm a little worried about just the sheer number of teams that Europe will have by the time we start traveling. So I think they might end up in a situation where that could happen to them. I don't know. They cover so much ground. It's like the opposite problem of Korea, right? Where Korea is not huge. So there's only so many cities that you can put teams in potentially, and Europe's
I mean, you
huge.
Could have 2 Souls or potentially.
Yeah, you definitely could for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard a ton of rumors. Like I hear about cities in the U.S. where people want to put teams. Like somebody wants to put one in Arizona, somebody wants to put one in Chicago, and, all these things. And I don't hear that about Europe. And I'm sure there's people that want to buy franchises and put them in Europe, but I'm just not hearing about it.
Everyone thinks about a Paris team.
Paris, I definitely hear. I think Germany definitely needs one.
Yeah.
I would like to see another one in the UK.
Yeah, and like I say, the Overwatch League or like the Asian teams play, and like I have no idea what the travel in Asia is like. Like if Japan got a team, if Japan, China, and Korea all had a team, I have no idea how long, like what the travel is like between those countries. I have literally zero idea.
Just have to assume it's not super difficult.
I don't even know. I have no. I know very little about the geography of Asia. I am not educated in that. So, I could just be saying, oh well, they just all go to Asia and play all those games. Some of them in Seoul, some of them in the imaginary Japan team, and some of them in China. And it's like, actually, that's like a 40-hour trip between those three things. Okay, well, maybe it doesn't make as much sense as I'm simplifying it to now. So let me know if I'm an idiot for saying that, or just give me a brief, geography lesson in regards to traveling between Asian countries.
Yeah. But I mean, anytime anybody wants to school Blevins on Twitter, I highly encourage it. It's entertainment. But the last thing I want to bring up that came out in the interview, and I think it's really, really important to just take a minute. We don't have to discuss it, but I just want to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that was that he very specifically said that at a meeting with Jeff Kaplan, on a breakfast meeting, Jeff complained about me beating him 1v1 on Kings Row during the Overwatch downtime. So just saying, I mean, I just appreciate that we got, I mean, there's no better source, right? This is the person Jeff said it to.
Well, there could be one better source.
One better. I mean, we're going to get Jeff someday.
There's exactly one better source.
But I will say this. I mean, it would be better if he admitted it, but I don't think he's going to. I think, it was a lopsided affair. And at least one of the times that it happened. But yeah, so anyways, memes aside, make sure you guys watch that interview. It was so much fun to do, and it was just so much good information, and we glossed over some of the bigger points there. But yeah, it's just chock full of great information. I've never been carried by somebody I've been interviewing before, but I definitely, think that happened. He was just such a great guest. He would, he could podcast himself. Like he's got the voice, he's got the beard, he's got everything. So I can't wait to hear the commish pod start up before too long.
That would actually be sweet. I don't think he has time to do it, but it would be sweet. Well, Nate, we'll produce it for you. We'll do everything.
We'll do everything. Yeah. You just talk for an hour.
Yeah.
He doesn't have time for that.
No, he doesn't. I'm surprised he had enough time for us. A couple of things. So Thorn Rain brings up in chat.
Well, we're going to be talking about the path to pro here in a minute.
Oh, that's right.
I was just going to say that aspect of it.
Good call. There was one other thing. Nate did confirm that there's going to be socks, which
socks, yes.
Socks, that's awesome.
The transfer window will be open from the end of stage 1 through the end of stage 2, I think he said, right? Like it's just open for the one stage. It could have been the end of 3. I don't know. But I think
2. It's basically
I thought it was just one.
Beginning of 2.
It'll last for the duration of the second stage. There'll be the ability to make their player swaps. Then I talked about the kinds of moves they can make there. Like they can just straight up buy players off of each other. They can just be like, I'm going to give you this much money and you're going to give me Tavik or whoever it is. Florida can't sell any players because then they're done. But yeah,
they can't net negative any players right now.
Right. But yeah, they can trade, 2-for-1 player for player. They can do a lot. There's a lot of freedom there. And I cannot wait to see the teams start to make adjustments in that way. Trades are one of them. They're not always super common, and I don't think they're going to be very common in Overwatch League. But man, when they happen, they are super hype. You'll remember, I think, at least 2 episodes around that trifecta trade between
my God.
Like Rogue and Misfits. And
that hurt me.
That was glorious.
The big trade. That's really like the only trade we've really seen.
Yeah,
we've seen orgs come in like swap orgs, but not like that.
That was crazy.
Yeah, we also we did get the confirmation of socks. We also got the confirmation. I mean, it was pretty much assumed at this point, but we got the confirmation of player jerseys, and we got confirmation of custom jerseys.
April for the cool new specific, unique merch. Look for April stuff like player jerseys. Not specifically, he's not quoting, but around that time frame.
Yeah, he said spring, around spring.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So I can in fact get my Pluppy jersey. I can get my Blevins jersey, and people can give me Belvin's jerseys that I won't wear. I actually do wear my Belvin's jersey all the time. Shout outs to Hammers Esports for that one. But yeah,
the meme team.
The meme squad. So yeah, we jerseys, hoodies, custom pants, which I'm just like so excited, and my wallet is not so excited, but the merch is going to be sweet.
Yeah, we can cut it there. We don't got to
well,
go
there's
too
only
deep into
the only there. I'm just trying to I'm looking over things and trying to think of the thing I was trying to think of before, and I remembered it. The whole pro players not being able to do pugs and queue up. He's basically like, yeah, no, none of that was confirmed. And what I'll say is that we've made a lot of changes since the Player Summit, and nothing ever was confirmed, and it's not confirmed yet either. So basically, heavily alluded that that might not be the case.
Also, don't want to hog all the credit here. We weren't the only interview Nate did yesterday.
Yeah.
There was also an interview on the overview
Yep.
with Chan Man and ZP and Fish Sticks was there, and
Yep.
It was a really good interview. Really enjoyed that. Some very different style of questions as well. So there's definitely a lot of great information in both of them.
Watch both.
Definitely watch both. Anytime Nate gets in front of a microphone, I think we should all pay very close attention.
Yeah.
So definitely. Make sure you check out both, and shout outs to them guys for a great interview. Really enjoyed listening as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and this is actually the last thing we'll talk about the interview, because I don't want to. I mean, you probably already have watched it, but watch it again. And if you haven't watched it, watch it. For preseason viewership, he said, didn't give us any specific numbers, which we're not surprised about, but he did say it was solid and consistent, which is a pretty PR answer that I actually don't think he would have ever given an answer that wasn't that.
Right.
But what's interesting is that he mentioned that there's going to be a marketing blitz for Overwatch League in the ensuing weeks. So, if anyone is going to see a movie on Christmas Day, which is a lot of people's traditions, and you see an Overwatch League ad, let us know, because that's awesome.
Yeah, if you see them in any really cool places,
any place, just let us know. That's not like Twitch.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see it in if it's in an NFL football game, I promise I saw it. But yeah, and I honestly told my boss today. I'm like, because he always asks these questions, and he knew we were interviewing the commish, and he always thinks it's so. He calls me a celebrity and stuff like that. He's super funny about it. But yeah, so I've told him, I'm like, keep an eye out. I'm thinking, one of these football games coming up pretty soon, you're going to start to see some Overwatch League commercials come in. And,
would not be surprised.
Yeah, just know that that's what I do. That's what I'm doing after I leave here. I'm immediately, ensconced in that.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely check that out. Check out the overviews as well. And yeah, so let's move on. I mean, we've been breaking it down this whole time, but
let's break it down.
Let's continue to break it down. So we got the actual Path to Pro article out, which the long and short of it is, here's the basic layout of what you need to do as your friendly neighborhood pleb. These are the leagues that are established that are through Blizzard, and this is, you go from here to here to here, and then you're in Overwatch League. So the first one is Open Division. Obviously, we've known about this, but it is going to continue to stay. I don't think there was really any critical updates to Open Division.
Yeah, I mean, they put out the super detailed rule book for contenders, and there is so much in-depth, crazy amounts of information going on here, from specific clauses that are needed in contracts if smaller tier 2 orgs want to start signing players. they cannot include any language that would potentially block them from joining an Overwatch League team. In fact, they need to include language that allows them to move up at any time into the Overwatch League if they get the opportunity. And there's like just crazy minutia detail like that that has been released, and we're just going to kind of go over it, gloss over things pretty quickly.
Take a look at the article for sure, in the post for sure.
Yeah, there's articles written kind of explaining what came out. Our focus will forever be primarily on Overwatch League during the off season. Things like that, we'll definitely be taking a look at the tier 2 leagues, but and we're going to be watching them for finding talent, things like that. But yeah, so the open division is going to be played in each of the regions, and they're just going to have an open entry. This is where you begin. If you're like, man, if you're like 16 right now and you're like, what do I have to do? I'll be 18 by the time season 3 comes around. How do I get going? You need to find a team, you need to enter them into the open division, and you need to prove your mettle there. And that's where everything kind of begins. So they went on to say, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm getting this from an article. So, I started to say something that Overwatch Score was going to do. But if you're interested, check out the Path to Pro analysis written by Mash over on overwatchscore.com. It's literally what we're using to get our information from. So it's a great start.
And if you have any questions about Open Division or about contenders, hit up Thornrain, because he is basically the #1 source, at least that I go to, for Open Division and contenders info.
He's Mr. Open Division. He's got a show on SoundCloud and iTunes, like just a podcast, the Open Division Quick Play. So he's going to be covering that in depth and taking a look at that. So make sure you guys, and he's in our Discord, super active in our Discord. So if you have any particular questions about any of this stuff, that's probably one of the best resources. I know when all that information came out, that was his Christmas morning. He was just in depth reading everything, and oh, it's so hyped. Like he was crazy hyped about it. And we all were, but that's where he eats. That's where he lives.
Bread and butter.
He was all over that. But once you make your way through the open division and establish yourself there, shout outs to my buddy Callie, and I'm blanking on the team name. I should have come prepared. But was my old coach. He's somebody I mentioned. Look for him coming around in Overwatch League Season 2. He was on the winning team for the open division this season. So big congratulations to him and all the guys there. Who he was on the team, he's a guy that we've actually seen a little bit in the pro scene before. Somebody that I've played with a little bit. He was a ringer for one of my teams in the past, and did a tryout, but the schedule didn't work, things like that. So great to see those guys doing well. And so shout outs to them. But so now they're going to be able to move up into like the Contenders Trials tournament. That's going to be run with it's going to be like invite only.
It's like a relegation tournament for contenders.
Yeah, that's where the promotion relegation comes in. So Europeans and soccer fans everywhere rejoice, and people get kicked out. And this is kind of where the Overwatch League Academy teams come in, right? Yeah, so I believe they get spots into, no, maybe they're just directly into contenders. I don't know. It's all so confusing, and I'm so tired. It's so hard to keep track of all this stuff. But yeah, so anyways, there's going to be contenders trials to determine who gets the spots into the new version of the contenders tournament that we just all got done watching, right? It's going to be a whole lot of fun to, see those in particular. It's going to be, that's going to be kind of the next step, right? You're going to have to then go from open division into this trial into, making it into contenders. And we're also going to be seeing in contenders, at least I think that's where they're starting, right? The Overwatch League franchises are given the ability to run academy teams. Okay. So they're going to have an affiliation with the franchise, but their players aren't reserved for those teams or anything like that. Think of it like the NFL as the practice squad, right? Where, my Buffalo Bills have X number of players in the practice squad. They get to practice with them, work with them, use them in the scout team, stuff like that. And they're welcome to sign them onto the main roster, and teams do that constantly because those guys are in your system. They know your coach. They know what they can do. But at the same time, I can't stop another team from signing a player off my practice squad either. Like they get to advance their career and move on if I'm not going to use them. And that seems to be how things are going to work here as well.
You can't lock them out.
one thing that was super, super interesting about these academy teams is we asked, will they have guaranteed spots? Are they going to just be in contenders all the time because of their affiliation? And the answer was no. So if they underperform and they don't do well, they're going to start to drop back into the trials and into the open division and things like that. So that's where the Dallas Fuel team is headed. No,
that's going to be so weird though. Because like if you're like, we'll use the Dallas Fuel for instance. If you're like the Dallas Fuel's academy team and you like lose in contenders, which is not unheard of, you lose in contenders and then you lose in contenders trials, you get demoted to Overwatch or open division. Like, why does the Dallas Fuel want to keep you as their team? Like, I guess it like, do they have to defend the spot for it? I don't know. We're gonna have to get some more info. Maybe the next time we have Nate on, we can ask him more about that, or maybe we'll find out more about that.
I personally hope there's orgs that go out and like try to be an open, try to like lose and get your spot down there, but like go for those teams that are maybe belong there, right? Like grab one of the upper echelon open division teams and get them early, right? Because it's going to be so helpful to bring them into that kind of environment with the coaching staff and that support system, and to just kind of bring them along that way. And maybe I'm sure they'll in some capacity have the ability to like discuss things with the players on the main franchise. And there's not going to be any firm affiliation between the two, I don't think, outside of branding, but that might even just be up to the teams, like whether or not they share coaches, things like that. But I really hope some teams kind of dig deeper to get their talent to kind of raise them up and bring them along as players. I think it would be really, really good for the scene. And I think that might be, if we see somebody do that and then they like level up and belong in the, the contenders and things like that, like I think that's where we'll really see some of the better coaches. And that's kind of be like just as much a coaching path as it is a player path. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, so then we'll, contenders will wrap up, and that'll kind of be, from there, the top performing players and teams in contenders, those are the teams that you'll see get picked up when there's expansion to the league. We might see them grab full rosters straight from contenders, and we'll see individual players picked up off of those teams. And it's going to be a little tough, I think, though, to be like big fans of some of those teams, right? Because if you pick a team, right, and like the two best players just get picked up and put onto prospective Overwatch League rosters, the dynamics of that team are going to change pretty drastically. But at the same time, that's the point. Like that's big, great news. You should be really happy about that, and hopefully that'll fuel fandom into the Overwatch League. I mean, I can't avoid using all the words forever. But yeah, that's gonna kind of direct people into their fandom in the Overwatch League too. So because in esports especially, there's a lot of people that follow the player, that really plant their flag in somebody, and not everybody gets lucky like I did. Like the two players they choose don't go to the same place, and stuff like that. So it's gonna really help a lot, I think, and people should really encourage that. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun to watch the young talent grow and work their way in and go up against the big names. Like, when you see this upstart Widowmaker you've never heard of get signed because you're not really following contenders that season or something, and all of a sudden he's going against the Lynxers and the Taimus and the Pines, and he's just standing up to them and going punch for punch. That's going to be so much fun. Every bit as fun as it is like if you saw Deshaun Watson play at all this year in the NFL before he got hurt. Like the kid came in as a rookie and like he was like a late first, like so many teams did not draft this kid, and he like was just absolutely setting the world on fire before he got hurt. It was tragic that he got hurt when he did. It was so much fun to watch, but it helps my Bills playoff odds. So. I won't cry too much, but it was definitely sad to see. You never want to see somebody showing that much promise in their rookie year like that go down. But I do really want to see the playoff drought ended for Buffalo. So I guess there's silver linings and everything. But so that'll kind of wrap up the path to pro discussion. It was really, really interesting insight from Nate on that stuff. So
yeah, I mean, the last thing I'll say about it, and really about the league in and of itself going into season 1 and prepping for season 2 is, I would say, and we've said this before, pick a team and stick with them. Through hell and high water, pick your team, plant your flag down wherever it is for whatever reason, stick to it, but also keep open the possibility of having a second team or, you know, a team that you're also going to care about, because like it's possible. And like Nate kind of hinted at it a little bit. We didn't get anything confirmed or anything like that, but he's like, in an ideal world, maybe we see 24, 26 teams in the league. Okay. That's double. So maybe we'll get double the number of teams. So like, you know, I'm still holding out hope that there's going to be a Toronto team, and I will continue to be an NYXL fan. But if there's a Toronto team, they're going to have some really ugly colors and some really bad players for me not to like that team.
Yeah, I think that would be. I'm really hoping that we get a Toronto team just for the sake of like, so we can have one thing, you know, one fandom in common, right?
Right.
Like we can
and we can actually go to the games and have it.
Right, go to the game. We can root for them. Just get really excited about it. You know, unless Houston's playing there, and then I'm going to be in green, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I'll be in XL stuff, so it's okay for the XL games.
You'll be dead to me those weeks. I would much prefer to be. I would much prefer to be opposed to you than I don't know what I was thinking. I take it all back. You're going down 1-0 for the Outlaws. Book it.
Yeah. We couldn't get Nate to pick the heads up match. I tried to throw it in there at the end. I was really hoping.
Yeah, that was the most PR answer of them all. I was furious.
I know. I wish he would have just said, I didn't realize that they were playing. I didn't think that they played this season. Like
there's only one worse answer. And that would have been, oh, I'm a Dallas fan. Like that would have just been a shot to my gut. Like I wouldn't have recovered from that.
Yeah, that would have been that.
It would have just been too much. It would have just been too much ammo for everybody in Discord. I couldn't have come back. But real quick here, I do want to just kind of go, gloss through the power rankings here. Just talk about where I have people now, where I had them before, and we've already talked about the matches, so I don't need to go too in depth into anything here.
And you've got a write up over at highnoonpodcast.com as well.
Yes, you can go to the website, check that out. I'm realizing that for some reason it took the numbers out and just turned them into bullets. So there's going to be some edits to it going in. But yeah, you can check those out on the website. The information is all there at least. So starting things off, we've got the Seoul Dynasty up from 3 to 1. Obviously, we were wondering who was going to replace Eska and who are you, and now we don't care because everybody's amazing. But I mean, Fleta definitely stood out. I mean, that team is going to be very, very good and very, very difficult to beat for absolutely everybody to follow on the list. Next up, Dallas Fuel held tight. Kept their 2 spot. I do really think they have a bit of an advantage for how long they've been in the U.S., and I think it's going to benefit them well. I also think some of the timing issues and some of the problems that they showed in the preseason were a product of how they were treating it. Like they had some weird comps at times, things like that. They seemed a little bit off, and I don't think they game planned. And I also think Taimu's a bit of a gamer, and by that I don't mean he plays video games. I mean he shows up on game day and he overperforms on game day. And maybe he uses his practice to practice things and things like that. It's not all because he's bad for whatever reason in scrims, but he really turns it up a notch and he performs in the moment. So I'm not really worried about Dallas Fuel at all. They stay at 2. Next, London Spitfire down from 1. They went from a Swiss Army knife to right in the middle of the pack in that top group of teams. If they're not going to have the ability to swap out both rosters, then I'm a little worried, but not very. Still got them at 3. So London going to keep a top spot. Next, you thumbed your nose at me last time. I'm thumbing my nose at you, Blevins. I'm putting the Houston Outlaws in here at number 4, up from 5. I've talked about this already on the show. This is a 4A, 4B scenario with New York. These teams are incredibly close. And why did I move them up over New York? They didn't play each other, anything like that. I just thought Houston overperformed from my expectations. New York didn't move in my expectations, and they were only, they were 4 and 5 before, just in the opposite order. So we had to switch them. So again, that leaves New York at number 5 as well. We'll see what they look like when they get their support player back. Frees up Libero to go into kind of that Swiss Army knife role that Bare Hands hyped up. Can't wait to see it. And we'll see it with a quickness, and who knows, maybe that'll flip back. I honestly don't have a strong opinion about who wins this match either way in the beginning of the season. I just have a strong opinion about who I would like to win the match. So go Greenwall, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks to preview that match up in depth, I'm sure. Yeah. So next up at number 6, the Los Angeles Valiant. They were down a player, right? They didn't have agilities, and Silk Thread showed that there's not a big gap between him and agilities. He played really, really well. I love seeing that depth. We saw Soon on Tracer quite a bit over Grim Reality. So it's going to be really interesting to see exactly what that, play time split looks like. But at least from all appearances from the preseason, it does look like Grim will be on the bench and Soon will be starting in that hit scan spot. At least when they're playing dive, they played a lot of dive in the preseason. So who knows? Maybe they come out. I wouldn't put anybody else. I think on the plan. Maybe like Taimu and Linkser and like a couple other people, but like there's not many people. yeah, a couple people that are, but they're like in the ballpark with Grim on McCree. Right. They're not even like marginally better. So they're all just kind of in that top tier group.
Yep.
So I would expect Grim on maybe some McCree action. Don't know between Soldier on the two of them. I don't know that I've seen enough to really call that race, but. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But LA really did very, very well, proved themselves to be a contender. They did well against good teams. And I believe a 2-0 record leaving that. I didn't write the records down on all of them, but I think they won and finished out.
Yes. They beat Shock and they beat Gladiators.
Yeah. Speaking of the Gladiators, they're coming in next on the list here. So what is that? 7.
Yep. 7.
Yeah, because New York was 5, LA was 6, and now LA again is 7. This is the first team to not make the playoffs, assuming I am 100% correct. They looked really good, but they just don't have the depth that I want to see, and they did a lot with the one substitute they had at their disposal, and I was really impressed with it. So they're kind of at the top of the heap of teams that I'm like worried about for at least one reason, but they definitely have a lot of talent there. Asher and Surefour on the same stage at the same time is going to be pretty brutal for a lot of people to beat. Looking forward to that. San Francisco Shock comes in next. One of the biggest movers here, going from 11 all the way up to number 8. So the shock of the preseason, right? Like no bones about it. Got to make the easy joke. That's what we do here. Answered all our questions, basically told us they can compete and at every level, in every spot we thought they might have been weak, or at least we weren't sure, it was possible they might be weak. They showed that they have at least a quality player at that position. Baby Bay really stood out in the preseason. Can't wait to see them continue. Florida Mayhem. Down to 9 from 8. I didn't overreact here, but I had to drop them down. You have to be worried. They continue to not look good on land. They continue to struggle, on stage, and just, they don't have anywhere to go, right? Like if these players are underperforming, they can do absolutely nothing about it but lose. And it's going to happen at least a couple times where these guys are just having bad days, and there's going to be nothing they can do to right that ship. Most teams will probably lose when their starters have bad days, right? But it's going to be on rare occasion, and it's going to be very big. These kinds of matches where you have to go to your substitute and he does really, really well and carries you and saves you. That's what's going to make the difference between a playoff team and a not playoff team, especially in this first year when things kind of seem to be pretty well tiered, right? Like I said, my bold prediction was that one of the Korean teams wouldn't make the playoffs, but it's a bold prediction because it's probably wrong. So there's a lot of playoff spots that appear to be locked up. And it's impossible to say you're going in, right? Not locked up as I shouldn't have used that terminology, but they seem to be occupied, and it's going to take a significant showing to unseat them.
Someone's going to have to fall, and someone's going to have to really shoot up.
Yeah. And, so we'll have to wait and see what exactly Florida is able to do here. Next, I put Philadelphia because I just really like the roster. I wanted to punish them more for this, but they were 6 and now they're 10. So by far the most drop in numbers, I think. Actually, that's not accurate. But yeah, so I kind of had the middle of the pack because I really liked them. But again, I'm seeing other teams overperform, and I'm not seeing anything from them yet. So how can I do anything but move them down?
Someone has to go down when all these teams are overperforming. And if you don't play, you don't go up.
Yeah, guess what? If you don't show up to week 1, you're going to be 0-2, and you're going to fall farther in my list because you're going to start hanging losses on yourself. So get it together, Philly. That's all I have to say to you. Next up, Boston Uprising up from 12 to not be in the bottom. We talked about this when we talked about the match. Shanghai versus Boston felt like they were playing for 12th place in my power rankings. So Boston won on a score of 3-2. So they're at number 11 and Shanghai stays at 12. I wouldn't be surprised if that flipped. I wouldn't be surprised if Boston jumps up at two spots, something like that. I don't think they're going to be able to push for a playoff spot this year. I think they're closer than I thought they were when they named their roster and I looked at it. But other than having some solid players that had good performances, they didn't look like the same level of teamwork that we saw from other teams. And it just seemed like, a bunch of really, and it sounds terrible to say, but it's something that gets said a lot. Just compared to the other teams, it looked like I was watching a streamer stream a high level comp game where people are making ridiculous shots because they're pro players. Like they got these contracts for a reason, but for a variety of reasons, neither of these teams really seem to fully click yet.
JV and varsity, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, it did.
JV, a high level JV team has good players, but a varsity team has great players, and they just play at a different level. It's a different level of intensity. It's a different level of cohesion. It's like night and day, honestly. Even though like you can watch JV games and they could be good, but when you put basically every varsity team that's worth its weight at all is going to beat any JV team.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of like the old debate of like how would the Thorne. How would the Browns do against the against the college team? And the answer is they would crush them.
Yeah.
Because they're fully grown adult men playing on a different level than the college team. Like, let's be real. But I mean, it's maybe not quite that bad. Like these guys look like they belong here. And that's what I'm trying to say about Boston. They just didn't look like they had it together as a team. So we went overboard on the comparisons because they're funny to make fun of the Browns. But yeah, these are our professional players. This was an Overwatch League match. It felt like it. It just didn't feel like, the slugfest that Dallas versus Houston was. Maybe it's too harsh of a judgment, but I don't see either Shanghai or Boston going up. But Shanghai's got, I'd say, almost more of a chance, right? Like there's a reason why they fell from 7 to 12 this time around. And that's because we don't know much about them, and their plane landed right before these matches and like they were super tired and they hadn't scrimmed yet. So they've got the most potential to level up, but I was worried and I was like cautiously optimistic, and I put them in the middle just to really hedge my bets and not make a firm opinion on them yet until I saw them. And now I've seen them and it wasn't great, and I have to react to that. So once they show me different, they'll move around. I expect Shanghai to across the beginning of the season, you're like whoop, whoop, like +4, -3, +2, and just kind of go a little crazy. But for now, they're at the bottom.
I think it was A Smith I was talking with was saying that there's like pretty good reason why like a lot of the Chinese, like quote unquote better Chinese players aren't on Shanghai Dragons, and it's because they're not old enough to play yet. So I could definitely see, like, I would imagine if you're a top tier Chinese player, you're going to want to play for the Dragons over most other teams. I'm just assuming just because of the language barrier, if nothing else. So like as these really good Chinese players go from 17 to 18, I could see Shanghai leveling up, even mid-season, honestly, depending on what the dates are. But I'll just run through my updated list really quick. I won't go into as much detail because I'm going to do a write-up as well. But so I've still got XL at number 1. Everyone's grilling me for it. And I don't care.
You're not alone. There's other people.
Yeah, I don't care. If you grill me for it, I will fight you in real life.
Look at the hat. Look at the hat.
Yeah.
Point at it.
I'm wearing it every day. I'm wearing it every day until they win the championship.
Forever.
Shut up. Number 2, I got Dynasty. I mean, honestly, and like we talked about this in Discord, and when people were giving me flack about having XL1, it's like I think we're both of us are in agreement that like the top. We said 4 before, but now kind of that top 5. Pretty much any of those top 5 could be anywhere in the top 5, and most people are going to agree on that. It's going to be a week-to-week thing of like, okay, well, Houston's on fire, so maybe they're number 1 this week. They've won their last 4 games or whatever. No one can touch them right now. We're moving them up to 1. But it could also be like, okay, Seoul's still dominant, or, you know, XL is on fire. Like any of those, you know, top 5 teams, and I believe we have the same top 5. I mean, our lists are actually pretty similar. Any of those top 5 could be there. So my top 5 is XL, Seoul, Dallas, Spitfire, and then Houston up from my embarrassingly low 10. I mean, we talked about it on the last episode. Like, no other team lost 2 matches and went up as much as Houston did, for the reasons that we talked about before. Like, their schedule was so loaded that, like, they really couldn't lose unless they got completely steamrolled, in which case they'd probably stay where they were, because there's no real barometer of how they're playing against those other teams that are considered lower. But they did well against 2 very good teams, so they definitely moved up. I've also got Valiant at 6. I've got Shock at 7 and LA Gladiators at 8. I mean, Shock really, you know, was the shock of the preseason. Both Shock and Gladiators were really that kind of proof of concept for the Junkenstein's roster, that the community was kind of, I believe, undervalued. Looking back, seems like they were undervaluing, myself included in that. So Baby Bay really stepped out, and Gladiators really showed that, you know, even if there was some issues with Spitfire that match, like they won. Gladiators won, and no one can take that away from them, even if the roster was in, you know, not working up to snuff. At number 9, I've got Mayhem. You know, I was a huge proponent of them, and I still am in a way, but you know, they just did not they were like the opposite of Houston. They just did not look good. They did fine, and Death is muted.
Yeah,
but
they're gonna figure it out. They're gonna get competitive, but when?
Yeah,
like, how much damage will be done by then?
Right. Do they need to change out? There's a lot of unanswered questions, but a few got answered in the preseason, and they weren't satisfactory answers. Now, we talked about I talked about before, like, how they could definitely turn it around, but, you know, I'm hedging against that right now. I hedged for it before, and I'm hedging against it. 10, I've got Boston. You know, they performed better than I think most people thought. 11 is Shanghai, for the same exact reasons why you put them under Boston. And then I did go ahead and punish Philly. Like, if you're not going to play, you get last place. So, yeah, I think that's going to be it. That's going to be it for the episode. That's going to be it for 2017.
I'm so gonna not win that mouse because I'm not eligible to over you.
You're not gonna win because you're.
But if you have power rankings and yours disagree with us, and you're in our Discord, by all means head over to the hashtag Power Rankings Contest channel. Put them in there. You got a chance to Raycor put up a nice prize. It's the Overwatch themed Razer Death Adder mouse. You can win that just by being smarter than the entire rest of the Discord, and that there's no better reason to win a prize than being smarter than all your friends. If fantasy football has taught me anything, it's taught me that is 100%
true. True. But that's it. That's 2017 all wrapped up. We had a nice last week of content with a nice big old bow on the top of it with the Nate Nanzer interview. But man,
I'm gonna sleep for 5 days.
Yeah. This was a crazy year for Overwatch, a crazy year for us and the show. Just crazy. Just huge shout outs to everyone who stuck around with us, all the new people, all the longtime fans, all the new folks. Like, huge shout outs to you guys. It still amazes both of us that, like, people watch the channel. Like, every time I see a new notification that someone came into the Discord, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Why are people joining our Discord? I'm like, oh wait, it's because it's awesome. That's why. Like, it's the Discord I want to be in. But yeah, any last end of year, end of the show stuff, Death, anything?
No, just have a happy and safe holidays, guys. You know, don't do anything we wouldn't do.
Yeah, definitely don't do anything we wouldn't do because we're perfect. But yeah, have a good holiday, guys. And, you know, do all the same stuff you always do. Check out highnoonpodcast.com. All the links are there. Huge shout outs to you guys. Huge shout outs to just everyone who's given support. I can't thank all of you enough. But that's going to be it for 2017, guys. It's been a great ride, and we hope that 2018 is going to be even bigger. But guys, for Deathblow, I am the Blevins, and have a happy holiday, and remember, it's high noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. He threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
See you in 2018, guys.